Now we get to the good part here. We've got Mr. Rick Binder, who brought in some of our Thomas More Prep Marian students. I kind of know them a little bit, got to teach them, and one of them is my son. So welcome, Caleb. Nice to have you in here.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And we also have Alyssa Church, who is in here with us. How are you doing, Alyssa?
Good. How are you?
Good. And for once, I think Mr. Binder's not going to say much. That's anybody who knows him is kind of like, are you sure? But no, it's great to have you here with us too, Rick. Really appreciate it. All right. So what are we talking about today, folks?
Prayer in action.
All right. Great. Good talk. No. Well, so first, maybe who wants to give us a little understanding of prayer in action? You know, what does it look like? And then also, how did you get involved in prayer in action? Who wants to go?
I can start.
Okay.
So prayer in action is a week-long kind of, I would call it a camp, but it's not really a camp. It's more of a retreat kind of thing in the summer where we go into communities throughout our diocese. So they're not too terribly far away and they're pretty easily accessible. We know these communities, but we go out and we find people that need help, that need service in some way, and we serve them. Oftentimes we do things like painting houses, and we've built things for people before. We do yard work, things like that. So we just help them out around, take care of their houses and stuff, and generally just help the community at large. We also have, it's called prayer in action. That was the action part of it. Prayer, we do every morning we start with mass. We have a walking rosary. In the evenings, one night we have confession. One night we always do prayers with each other. And there's one, I think we finish every night with the Liturgy of the Hours. And so there's a lot of prayer involved. Like I said, this community service aspect. And then there's also a lot of fun things involved. We do fun activities. They have a little party one night. We have like competitions against crews. They call them crews. It's their group that you're put into to do service throughout the week. And you kind of grow close to your crew. That's a pretty nice aspect of it. You get some pretty good friends. One of my best friends has been on my crew before. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Alyssa, so what kind of brought you to know about Desire and go on prayer in action?
I'd heard like a lot of other people from like CYO talk about it and talk about their experience. And I just thought it would be a really good experience to grow in my faith and serve God.
Okay. Caleb, what brought you?
It was pretty much CYO. There, when I was a freshman, the senior boys in CYO that I really kind of looked up to, they were going. And so I wanted to go and see what it was about, so I could be like them. I was that annoying tag along. But so I went, and my first year I really enjoyed it, and so I've kept going back ever since.
Okay. So this is kind of a obvious question, but for both of you, how does your Catholic faith then influence your desire to be able to serve others, especially during prayer in action?
Okay, so well, really, it's especially the community aspect of it. That's the biggest part of prayer in action, is you're serving the community, but you also develop your own community within the group that you're with. And so there's a lot of aspects of helping each other to grow in your faith, not just yourself, but you're also helping others, and you have other people there to help you grow in your faith. And so that's a kind of a part that draws me to it also, is that you're not alone on this, and it makes it a lot easier to explain your faith and go through with different aspects of your faith.
Awesome. Yeah. Alyssa?
Kind of similar to Caleb, just wanting to give back to another community that isn't always as fortunate as we are, and wanting to serve and be like Christ.
Okay, awesome. So I'm going to start with you this time, Alyssa. Caleb gave us some insight into some of the things that are done at Prayer in Action, but could you actually give us some of the things, so some of your experience that you've had at Prayer in Action? Can you tell us, what did you do? What was your crew like? Any things like that, so we can actually kind of get an understanding of what it would be like if we were there with you.
Yeah, so every day we start with Mass and a walking rosary, and then we have some prayer time before breakfast, and then we all get ready and go to our work sites. And normally the crews are 10-12 people, something like that. and you get really close with your crew because you're with them all week. You're most of the time you're working on like the same house. And when I went, there were 2 crews that were working on houses next door to each other. So we ended up like one big crew and having a really great just like community. And then there's always like fun evening activities. Like one night there was like a scavenger hunt around the town we were working in, and it's just like a really great, those are both really great bonding experiences. You know, you're like getting to know other people from the diocese.
Mm-hmm.
And then like you're also like serving and working.
So what did you do? What was one of your jobs specifically for doing your action piece? You said you had 2 crews that melded together,
Yeah.
but what did you guys do for the people in that community?
I know, like, what I mostly did, we, like, scraped and painted a house, and, like, we painted a porch.
Okay.
There were some people that, like, helped with yard work.
Okay. Yeah, that I can't stand scraping and painting, but when I went, I did that too,
Yeah.
and it's part of what you do. It
Yeah.
doesn't mean that it's going to be fun, but it's part of what you do. Caleb, what did you guys do?
So this last year, I've gone 3 years. This last year, we did a lot of painting as well, but ours was a lot of smaller projects. I think in the 4 or 5 days we were there, we got probably 4 projects done. So ours was painting, scraping, and yard work, but they were a lot smaller projects. They weren't real big.
Okay. And so during this, you guys have talked already that it's called prayer in action. You talked that you get up in the morning, say a walking rosary and stuff like that. What is your favorite part, both of you, of the prayer part of prayer in action? Because there's different experiences throughout it. What would your favorite piece of the week of prayer be?
Confession,
Okay.
adoration.
There you go.
There's one night out of the week we have confession and adoration, and they put 2 kneelers up right in front of the monstrance. So after your confession, you can go and say your penance right in front of the monstrance, like you're maybe 2 feet from it. So that's really cool, and it's just a whole bunch of teenager Catholics in one chapel together praying. It's inspiring.
Yeah. I really did enjoy the adoration and confession. I also liked the walking rosary because it was like right in the morning, and it was like so like it was so nice out. Like it wasn't like hot because you know you get into later in the day. It's June and July. It gets really hot.
Yeah.
But it was like the perfect weather, and it was always just nice like walking around before we started our work day.
Okay, awesome. And as you're going through your work day, what do you stop and go to a restaurant, or what do you do for lunch?
In the mornings we pack a lunch, and it's normally just like a sandwich and chips.
Uh-huh.
So
Okay.
yeah.
And then you also got to take care of your own water and stuff
Yeah.
like that. And what do you guys do to clean up every day? You just go jump in the local swimming pool, or?
Usually the high schoolers or the high schools in the area are kind enough to lend us their locker rooms and their
Yeah.
showers and stuff. So we have to use locker rooms to shower in, which isn't the most fun,
Yeah.
but it is nice that they do give us that. So
Yeah, that is awesome. And it is good just to be in those communities that welcome us when we come to those things, but also are just very kind in their giving of all of their resources also to help us make sure that we can get through the week and not smell too bad. All right. I want to break in here really quickly and thank Lorraine Brungart, who pledged $1,000. Thank you, Lorraine. That pledge then becomes $2,000 with our matching funds. So that means we might have broke down under the $10,000 mark with matching funds. Let's see if we can get those used up today before the end of the day. I also want to read our trivia question one more time. I thought we'd have a winner on that, but we don't yet. So please call in and take a shot at it. 785-621-4110. So your trivia question is, which book of the Bible is written mostly by King David? Is it A, First King. Actually, I'm getting a message here. We do have a winner. They said we have a winner. Hang on. So we'll get that winner. We'll announce it here in just a minute. It looks like they're just a little bit slow out there. Maybe they need some extra coffee. Oh, okay. They said Lorraine won the trivia question. So thank you, Lorraine, for your donation. And also congratulations. We'll get you entered into that drawing for a $50 gift certificate to Messenger, traditional Catholic books and gifts here in Hayes. And Jerome and Angela Schmeiler are the owners of that store. Wonderful people. Please support them as they support us. Remember, we've got our pledge going, and that's what we are doing here now. We've got wonderful people in talking to us, telling us different stories, giving us insight on all kinds of spiritual things. And right now we're talking to the Thomas More Prep Marian students about prayer and action. We've got that goal of $125,000 that we want to reach by the end of the week. Please call in to 785-621-4110 or donate at dvmercy.com. All right. We're going to get back into it. And some of these questions are related to prayer and action. Some of them are just kind of more personal. And so one of the questions that I've got here in front of me is, how have times of adoration or mass impacted your faith journey? So this doesn't mean just at prayer and action, but I think in total, what has adoration and mass done for you throughout the span of your faith journey?
Real quick, what was the answer to the trivia question?
Oh, thank you. The answer was the Book of Psalms. Yes. So thanks for asking me. I forget to do that a lot. I appreciate it. All right. Now back to our questions.
I forgot. Could you repeat the question?
Yeah.
Now?
How has times of adoration or mass impacted your faith journey?
Okay. A large part of adoration for me is that it's the most peaceful place I've ever been. And so I love going to, anytime I'm struggling with anything or my life is hectic, or especially right now as I'm getting ready to graduate and leave, there's little amounts of anxiety building up. I love the idea of just being able to go spend some time in adoration, because when you're in there, it's peaceful. It's almost like time stops. You don't have to worry about anything. And so it's just become a part of my life that I enjoy adoration, and I try, and anytime I need to get away from things, that's where I go.
Yeah. Both adoration and mass play such a big part in my faith journey. You know, like Caleb said, anytime, I'm struggling or stressed about something, I just go to adoration or I go to mass, and, I walk out and I feel so much better than I did when I walked in.
So then moving from that into prayer and action, Caleb, I think you mentioned this earlier as being one of your favorite things at prayer and action. What is it that maybe even makes it very special during things like this where you're serving others to be at adoration throughout those days? What would you guys say?
It's kind of just, you're putting so much time like working for someone else, and then like you get the adoration, and that's kind of like your time to like just reflect on the week and like just pray. And
yeah, she summed it up pretty good. It is as you serve others, you get worn down. It's not like we can just keep going forever, and so it is a nice little break from the trials of the day and stuff like that, and you can just kind of rest.
Yeah, I appreciate you bringing that up because you're very right. It's not like you get to the end of the day and you're like, oh yeah, just ready to go again. You're hot, you're sweaty. You've played probably some kill ball in the morning and at night and at lunch. And they love that game. I never understood the point of it because there's never a winner. Like the winner becomes the loser. And like, it's weird, but I don't know. You guys love it. But as you're working in those communities, yeah, you're right, Caleb. You get kind of wore down, and it's nice to just go and have some quiet time and be able to sit in the peace of Christ. But as you guys are working throughout the day, you guys both mentioned that you become closer to these people that you're working with. Caleb, you said that you made a good friend there even. And so do you guys want to talk to that aspect a little bit? Do you still talk with these people? Do you have communication with them? What's it like to be able to go somewhere, not know someone, and then come back being like, hey, actually, I got a really good friend from that?
Yeah. I know my first year, I know a couple people from like, my CYO group going, But I didn't really know anyone in my crew like super well, so it was just nice. You know, I'm meeting people that I'm going to see at CYO convention and then CYC, and then you like kind of build connections like that. And
Okay.
Yeah, like the coolest part about Prayer in Action is it's within the Salina Diocese. So everybody you meet there, you see again through sports because we play each other in them, or you see them at other CYO experiences. So, and I've had a group chat going with my crew from this last summer for Prayer in Action. So we communicate with each other all the time, and we see each other at sporting events, say hi, and so it's kind of nice because you keep seeing those people and you really you don't lose track of them. So
Yeah, that's really awesome. I mean, especially with that's a wonderful use of technology where sometimes we're not able to use it in good ways. This is a really good way to be able to do that. All right. So um, I've got a few more questions here for you. First, I want to remind people that you're on our spring Care-a-thon, which is Pray, Hope, and Don't Worry. So as we're talking to these Thomas More Prep Marian students about prayer and action, you know, the big part of that prayer, starting with that conversation with God, being alone with Him in adoration, you know, and just letting that calm and that peace of knowing He's in control is a big part of that pray, hope, and don't worry. And that, you know, so these two young people have had a chance to live that out. And we ask that you help us to share that story with others as we're doing right now on the radio station. The way that you do that is you call in and pledge and help us then to use up those matching funds, which means that it'll double your donation and it'll help us to keep these radio waves going, keep us proclaiming the truth of the gospel. So please call 785-621-4110. All right, next question that I might have for you guys then is as you're serving these other people, do you get to talk to the people? Do you not get to talk to the people? Do you build relationships with them? Can you guys give us insight into the people that you're actually serving at Prayer in Action?
it really just depends on who you're serving. Some people do come out and talk to you, others don't. I know when I went, the man my crew was serving, we didn't see him until like at the end of the week.
Uh-huh.
And so we did get to have some conversation with him, but we didn't see him much like throughout the week.
Okay.
So
I've had a lot of different experiences. I mean, I've had some people. Last year we spent all week painting this guy's shed that was bigger than his house. So it took us a long time, and he made us lunch every day, so we didn't have to take sandwiches or anything. So, and he'd sit down and he'd talk with us, and he was great to get to know. But then also I've done work for people and I've never seen them. They talked to whoever was in charge of setting it up, and other than that, we never really had any communication. So it really does just depend on the person.
Okay. Now, follow-up question to that. What is the beauty of both of those situations? One, sometimes you're going to work for people and never get a thank you, never hear anything from them. That doesn't mean that they don't appreciate it. Two, there are some people that are going to come out and you're going to know immediately. So could you guys maybe talk a little bit about your experiences with those and maybe the blessings in both situations?
Especially on the side where they're quiet and they stay inside or they don't really communicate with you. Often those people, I've seen that they, like one person even, they didn't talk with us all week long, and then the last day we were there, they came out and they said, "I've wanted to come out and thank you guys, but I've just been so overwhelmed. I've been crying all week, so I couldn't come." And so part of it is obviously some of them will have situations where they can't get outside or they can't communicate, and they'll all have different backstories. And some, like a lot of people have said before, actions speak a lot louder than words.
Yeah.
And so sometimes even not having a conversation with them, they don't base you off of your words, they base you off your actions. And so they almost will feel a whole lot more appreciation because since they won't get to know you, they don't have that other aspect. They only have that one side that looks really good to them. So
Yeah, some young man or some young woman just came and painted my house, and I don't even know their name. Like
Yeah.
that's pretty awesome, right? Alyssa, what do you have to say?
Yeah, kind of similar to Caleb. You know, actions do speak louder than words, and you never know what the person you're serving is going through. You know, they might not be able to. They physically might not be able to come outside and talk to you, or they might be sick and not want to get germs
Mhm.
from different people. And
Yeah, and that's really important, I think, to our faith is to be able to serve others and not always have
yeah,
a thank you, not always get feedback, and just know, this was the right thing to do. All right, we're talking with our Thomas More Prep Marian high school students, and we are discussing prayer and action and just all kinds of wonderful things that are in conjunction with that. You're listening to Divine Mercy Radio Spring Care-a-thon. Pray, hope, and don't worry. Call 785-621-4110. All right, I want to get back then to talking with Caleb Marinser and Alyssa Church about their understanding and their involvement in prayer and action. So you obviously don't just go out onto these sites on your own, right? Like you don't just get there and somebody's like, oh, here you go find this address. All right. Who are the people then that are in charge? Who helps you guys out? What does that look like with prayer and action?
yeah, we always have like adults go with the crew with like each group. I know when I went, we had you and another teacher from TMP that they drove us down to the town we were working in, and then each crew has an adult leader, and then they take whatever vehicle to each work site.
Yeah.
And then
And
the staff, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, what about the people that run it? What could you guys say about that?
So I don't know if there's a technical term for them, but we just call them the prayer and action team.
Mm-hmm.
They're usually young college students, or a few years we've had seminarians help out with it. The seminarians don't really get a choice; the bishop tells them to. But the college students, they volunteer and they come out and they just set everything up. They're out there all summer because we only go 1 week, but they have multiple weeks set up. So they're out there all summer helping different groups through it. And they go out into the community. They contact the different people, or people contact them and ask them, and they coordinate everything. I don't know all that they do because a lot of it is behind the scenes, but they coordinate everything. They also are in charge of just pretty much making everything smooth, fun, and entertaining. So they do skits at the end of the day to keep us entertained, and so they're a lot of fun. I know this year I was looking at the list of the team members, and 2 of them are actually kids that went to prayer and action with me 3 years ago now.
Oh, awesome!
So I don't think I'll be able to make it back this year, unfortunately, but it is cool that they kind of continued on and they kept going with prayer and action.
Yeah. What about you?
Yeah, the staff, they do a lot that, we don't know about. They plan the evening activities, and they plan, where all the different crews and where all the different crews will go each day. And then if a group finishes a project early, they find, a new site for them to go work at.
And so were you guys, obviously the relationships are different, but were you guys able to connect then with any of the team leaders? Did they have any impact on your life or anything like that? Or is it just kind of like, oh yeah, they're their team members, we're not, what does that look like? Is there some sort of connection that happens?
So they will every day they kind of rotate, and one of the team members will come and be at the work site with you. And they're still kids, so they like to mess around. They work really hard and they keep things going smoothly. But they also like to mess around and have fun. And you have conversations with them as you're working. And sometimes you almost feel closer with the team members than the people you came with, because they try and split you up, so you're not in your community. So you kind of have to branch out, and so oftentimes you feel a lot closer with those people. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. they come, they hang out with you guys at the crew and help out. And then, yeah, in the evenings and stuff, they'll talk to you. And it's not like they're just like off to the side. They're like interacting with everyone and trying to like make those connections.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. You're right that sometimes it takes us a while to grow up, and some of that is good and fun and healthy too. Though I remember one of the days, I think it was wasn't it that one of the groups went and bought some water balloons and tried to ambush us.
That happens every year. Water balloons are pretty popular.
All right. So yeah, there are just some fun things that and I know that I think Bill Mayer is in charge of getting these young people together because he's in charge of youth ministry within our diocese. And so I know he works really hard to get these young men and women who he thinks are going to be a good fit, who are into their faith, and who he knows are going to lead our young people in a good way. So I wanted to remind everybody really quickly that we are listening to Divine Mercy Radio's Spring Care-a-thon. Pray, hope, and don't worry. I'm going to do our second trivia question now. So actually, maybe I'll just let one of you read it. Does either of you want to read this?
Do you want to?
Yeah. Okay. So read the question, read the choices. Don't read the answer. I did that once. Don't pull a Cody and mess that up.
Okay.
All right. So here is your question. If you think you know it, call 785-621-4110. Go.
Who was considered the queen when Israel had a king? A, the king's first wife. B, the king's mother. C, the king's first daughter. Or D, the king's favorite wife.
Read it one more time.
Who was considered the queen when Israel had a king? A, the king's first wife. B, the king's mother. C, the king's first daughter. Or D, the king's favorite wife.
Call 785-621-4110 if you think you know that answer. You can also call that same number to give us your pledge. And guess what? You can do both. If you think you know it, call in, get the answer right. We'll put you into that drawing for a $50 gift certificate to Messenger Traditional Catholic Books and Gifts here in Hayes. We will draw that at the 6 o'clock hour. And then you can stay on the line and say, you know what? I think I would like to support what these people are doing, especially if you want to show your support to these wonderful young people we have in here right now from Thomas More Prep Marian Senior High School. Call in 785-621-4110. Let's get those phones ringing and send us your pledge, get your answer, and we can also get your questions on the air if you want to text that same number. All right, back to Caleb Morencer and Alyssa Church, and we are talking about prayer and action and all kinds of things involved in that. So one of the things I want to ask you guys about is you said they have nightly things. And so each night you may do something different. You mentioned some of those. What was your guys' favorite nightly thing? You know, they have skits, they have songs. I think one day there's a dance. There's also a washing of the feet. What was your guys' favorite and why? And would you explain it to us?
Okay. Like I said earlier, adoration and confession is by far my favorite night. But I've talked about that a little bit. So,
yeah.
I also really enjoy the feet washing, because you see more of the human side of people during that. People, it's kind of an emotional thing, unless you're my brother.
He was just ready to go to bed, I hear.
Yeah, he was tired, but everybody else, they really get into it. It's they put out all the lights, they set out these candles, so you're only doing it by candlelight, and the adults in your group go around and they wash the feet of everyone, kind of just a representation of when Jesus washed the feet of the disciples and gave them the mission to serve others. Because that's what we're doing, is we're out there serving others. So that's one of the last nights of the whole thing. And it really kind of just encapsulates the whole week in that one moment. And then also the night after that, they don't give us a bedtime. And so sometimes we stay up for hours doing all kinds of things. So that was pretty fun.
Yeah. What about you, Alyssa?
I definitely loved everything, all the like fun activities in the evenings. But I think my favorite has got to be the feet washing. Just like like Caleb said, it's just so emotional and it's hard to describe, like, but
Yeah, it is hard to describe. It was really, it was very moving to be a part of that, because it's not just the washing of the feet. What else do the adult leaders get to do?
they pray over you.
Yeah, so that was
Yeah,
really,
yeah.
really cool. So everybody that we bring in our group, yeah, if you're an adult leader, so first off, if you're a youth out there, you're probably not listening because you're probably in school. So maybe we're lucky, and somebody like Mr. Binder's class is allowed to listen to this while they're in school, or they can replay it later. If you're listening this now, you could replay this for your kids. You can actually see us live on Facebook, YouTube, and Rumble. And so you could go back and watch it when we post that to YouTube. And just if you are a younger person, contemplate, hey, maybe this would be a good thing for me. If you are an adult, then really talk to your kids, because, especially having my own son in here, both of us went and we went together. And so we're going to have different experiences depending on being an adult or being one of the youth at it. But I agree that that Thursday night is so powerful, and being able to be an adult leader and pray over every single one of your kids was just a very powerful, Holy Spirit involved moment. You don't always get those. And so I'm not going to say like, yeah, if you go on this, like you're going to have this moment where you're moved, and like maybe some people don't, because one of my sons is tired and wants to go to bed. But there are definitely those abilities throughout the week where you're going to have these moments to just completely focus on your faith and have it really come alive for you. All right. So what are some of the challenges then that you face throughout this week? We've had a lot of discussion on things that you go through, but maybe some big challenges that come up.
I think one of the ones that everyone faces is you're so tired, especially like when you get to the middle and the end of the week. You're up early, you're going to bed late, and you're working all day, and it's just a lot, especially if you're like not used to doing that every day.
So what do you think you learned through that? How did you grow through that process though?
It really just, I don't know. I think what helps is that knowing that like you're making a difference for someone. You're helping someone who, making their yard or their house look nicer, and they wouldn't otherwise have the opportunity for someone to do that.
So being a little uncomfortable is not the worst thing in the world.
Yeah.
You obviously lived through it because you're here. Okay. Caleb, what about you?
That is the big one. Tired during mass in the mornings. There's a lot of people bobbing their heads.
That is tough.
I've done that before. But some of it is also the just the people you're around. I mean, you're around people a whole week long. Even if you got good friends with you, you start to get a little irritated with people. And if somebody does something, and so part of it is you learn how to deal with people. And like we mentioned earlier, sometimes it's a little frustrating if the person in the house just wants to, they're like, oh, while you're here, could you also do this? Or your adult leaders are like, well, we finished, but there's more that could be done. And you're kind of tired and you just want to be done for the day. And so it's irritating that you have to go do more. But at the same time, I mean, you do more. And so there's a grace to that.
Yeah, what an important lesson for life to learn, very much so. And I would agree, being out there in the hot, sweating, sweat gets in your eye and it's burning. You're like, oh, I would just rather be in a swimming pool right now. I'm dealing with all those difficulties. So thank you so very much for a little bit of insight into that. Want to thank Joe and Linda Becker, who pledged $300. And so with that pledge and our matching funds, that becomes a $600 pledge. They said they love listening to you guys talk about prayer in action. Their kids attended prayer in action, and then they were sponsors of prayer in action for 2 years. And so that's wonderful to see the experience live on afterwards. And kind of, Caleb, like you were talking about, a couple of guys that you went with now are going to be serving this summer. And so it obviously had an impact on them. All right. We are on our Divine Mercy Radio Spring Care-a-thon. Call 785-621-4110 to help us get the pledges we need to make sure that we keep the lights on. 785-621-4110. Little bit of backtracking, but also a little bit, see if you can help us dig some more. In what ways has this experience helped you guys to grow in your own faith?
A lot. Just everything. I'm not saying that everyone has like they're born super selfish or anything like that, but there is a part of it when you go through the motions, you really don't gain much. And when you kind of put out of, I won't necessarily say out of your comfort zone, it's really not that uncomfortable, but you are doing more than you usually do. You do more than just go through the motions. You have to put an effort in. And that's our whole faith life, is that you can't go through the motions. You can't be lukewarm. It's not going to end well. So it's practice, really. It helps get you on your feet, get you going, and gives you that drive to practice your faith.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I really like what Caleb said, and kind of adding on to that, you're like serving God and you're like doing prayer through all of this. We stop and we pray, before lunch and at noon. And, we have mass in the morning and a rosary every day. And, a lot of people don't pray rosaries. I know I don't pray a rosary every day. And it's just nice to do that, something you don't normally do. And
yeah. So yeah, I liked what you guys say, because there can be a lot of pain and uncomfort in our own faith lives too. And it helps us to understand, well, I can either give up, throw a fit, call mom and dad and be like, can you come get me? Or I can suck it up and deal with the heat, and that's one of those things that I appreciate you guys mentioning, because it does help you in your everyday life. What other things might you guys have taken from this that do help you in your everyday life? Maybe not even so much spiritual, but just after this, after going through prayer and action, maybe you got home and you noticed this and this have changed because of my understanding there.
Okay. Well, I learned how to paint a house.
Yeah.
But on the other side of things, working in the heat, work ethic, it did get pretty hot out there some days, and you'd rather be inside. And I don't know. I've done projects around the house and stuff, but there was always the house that I could go into and cool off, or I had running water. When you're out there, you got a jug of water, and there's nowhere to go. In some places they didn't even have like a restroom. We had to walk a half mile just to use the restroom. And so there's a lot of kind of like a fortitude. I want to say it makes you stronger in a way. It makes you you have to work for it. And so when you get back home, then it's like, maybe I don't need the air conditioning all day long, or you become more resilient to things. So.
Or maybe when dad makes me mow the lawn. So Caleb helps me mow lawns. And so, that too is one of those things where, you just take your stuff along, you go out, you do your work, and you come home when the work's done. Yeah. So Alyssa, what about you?
Yeah, kind of Caleb, had a good answer to that. And also just, you kind of look back and you realize that, these people we served, they aren't as fortunate as, we are. They can't do these tasks themselves, or they can't pay someone to get it done, professionally. They have, teenagers doing this, and it's just, it's nice to realize that you made a difference in someone's life just by doing something simple, not always simple, but.
Yeah. And kind of like what you were talking earlier, we worked with, Caleb, did you get to work on that house that was, the lady was a shut-in. And so nobody ever saw her, and as you were saying, there were extra things that could be done. And so we ended up helping fix her gutters, even though the gutters didn't, or that wasn't on part of our quote list, and she had a bunch of trash and the trash hadn't been taken out and she just couldn't do it. And so, yeah, that's awesome that those experiences help you then to just transition into everyday life. All right. We are listening to our spring Care-a-thon. Pray, hope, and don't worry. We have that Care-a-thon goal of $125,000. Please help us with this goal. You can actually go to our website, which is dvmercy.com. On our website, we have a thermometer, and so you can check there. They try to update that every single day, and it'll show you where we're at toward our goal. I'll get you guys a number here in a little bit as to where we're at in our matching funds, probably down underneath the 10,000 mark, maybe even around $9,000 left. If we could get those used up by the end of the day, that would help us huge in making it toward that goal. We only have 2 employees here. They work really hard. Nathan and Michael do a great job of making sure the programming's on, making sure the equipment's working. You ought to go and check. Michael even makes these fun little videos to promote our different Care-a-thons. And so they work very hard, but we only have 2 of them. We also have a bunch of equipment in here. Come up to the studio, get a cookie. We have some delicious cookies that you can have. Come visit with us, peek into the studio, see what things are like, and you'll see where your dollars are going, and be able to appreciate that our board does a great job to make sure that we are spending every penny the way that you want it to be spent. Please join with us and partner with us in this gospel message. 785-621 4110 785-621-4110. We're going to get back to talking with Caleb Marinser and Alyssa Church about prayer in action. So now moving from all the hot sweat and just dirty stuff to Caleb, you mentioned a little bit about the night where you have pretty much no curfew. But what are some of the fun things then that happen at prayer in action? And if you can give us a little insight into those.
Yeah, definitely that last night, everyone, they stay up as late as they want, playing games and kill ball outside. And then obviously we do activities in the evenings. Like we had a scavenger hunt. There's always a dance, low dance.
Yeah. The dance is kind of fun. If you're willing to do something that makes you look stupid, you can make some money. Like you mentioned, kill ball, that's a big thing. The name fits it, and you really make friends with somebody after you hit them in the nose once or twice. So it's a lot of just fun. I mean, there's people bring card games and board games, and we play those in the downtime. And also we cook our own food there. Crews will cook dinner at night and stuff like that and help set up for breakfast. And so when you're cooking, they usually have music playing, and your crew just, or especially when you're cleaning dishes, there's a lot of soap sud battles and stuff like that. So we find a way to kind of implement fun into everything. And so it makes it a whole lot nicer than just going out and doing all this hard work and then coming back and going to bed and rinse and repeat. There's fun to it. So
yeah. Now talking about cooking, you've probably had some interesting cooking experiences. So you mentioned that each crew takes a night. Well, not everybody's used to cooking. So what does that kind of look like then?
I've got a story about that. So there was one night my crew was on cleanup, and the crew before us was they were busy cooking. We were all playing games, and they were playing music in there, and they kind of forgot about what they were cooking, and they burned every bit of food that we had. So we ate sandwiches that night, and then my crew had to clean up and scrub about 20 different pans full of burned food. And so yeah, that wasn't much fun, but so that happened. But usually the food's pretty good. The crew members, they help out, or the team members, they kind of give you directions and stuff. And so long as everybody pays attention, it works out okay.
Yeah, those are some more good life lessons. Make sure you pay attention and don't burn the food. All right, you're listening to Divine Mercy Radio's Spring Care-a-thon. Pray, hope, and don't worry. And as we're talking with Thomas More Prep Marian students, Caleb Marinser and Alyssa Church, we've been talking heavily about that prayer piece with prayer and action. And the beauty of this program is that you are able to live out your faith. Stay away from a lot of the. I can't remember. Did we take your guys' phones?
We weren't allowed to have our phones.
Okay.
They didn't take them from us necessarily, but we had to leave them in our bags. And
Okay.
so yeah.
Yeah. So most every day, then, yeah, you're out on these crews. You're working hard. You're serving other people. And yeah, if you don't have your phone, then you're not worried about checking it. It's just the temptation is gone. So that was another thing for me that was really helpful. Is just getting away from all of the stuff in our world. And I think you end up leaving that week with less anxiety and less worries.
Yeah.
Alyssa, what would you say?
I know when I went, I knew that, I wasn't, they were going to take my phone. I wouldn't be able to use it. So I didn't bring it at all.
Oh, awesome.
And it was definitely nice. At first it's like, I wonder, who's texting me right now. But then, you kind of just forget about it. And you're so busy throughout the day. You don't think about, what's happening on your phone.
Yeah. So if you guys were to, if you were given the ability, I know, Caleb, you're busy this summer. And Alyssa, I don't know, are you busy this summer?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd like to go back this summer, but I've got, other stuff I'm doing, and I can't go back this summer.
So obviously I think, Caleb, you said you've been 3 times. And so if you would, or if you could, would you go back? If you were able to, would you lead it? If you were to give other people advice as to why they should go, can you guys incorporate some of those answers into giving us some more insight into it?
Yeah, I definitely do want to go back. Like I said, I wasn't able to go last summer, and I'm not able to go again this summer. But I'm hoping next year I'm gonna, try and make it work that I can go.
Okay.
And, if somebody considering prayer in action, I definitely recommend it because it's a really great experience. And it's like not super far from home. Like when I went, I was like 2 hours from home. And then, you're also meeting a lot of really great friends.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Sometimes when we think about going on a mission trip, we think about like Cuba or somewhere like that, and I've never even been outside of the United States. So it's really awesome to be able to say, no, this is mission within my own territory. So very good point. Caleb, what would you say?
I hopefully will go back. They're starting to implement a college week. So it's not just high school students, now it's college. So I would love to go back. A big part of that is just the people. Like the work, I don't mind it. The fun games and stuff. I mean, it's fun and all, but it's not fun without the people. And especially if you stay in contact with my crew like I've done before. I know every year I've gone at the same time as the kids from St. John's and Beloit. And so I'm pretty good friends with a lot of them. And I don't get to see them very often. I see them at like a track meet or something once a year. And aside from that, I really don't see them. And so, especially when you're talking with them still, you want to see them again. And so, that's a big part, is going back just to see the people that you'd know. And as for new people, just going, not just the friendships that you make, but also, like we said, when you get real tired and stuff, you start to learn how to rely more on the Eucharist, rely on those adoration hours, and it draws you in. It really does. Even I've known kids that they weren't happy to be there, but like their older sibling went, so their parents made them go too. And by the end of the week, they probably didn't want to leave and it wasn't because of all the fun stuff. It was because they remember those adoration hours and those morning walking rosaries where you started to grow closer and you could actually physically feel more peaceful.
That's awesome. And kind of just a side note and a fun note, you have a pretty healthy little competition with the Beloit guys, don't you, Caleb?
Yeah.
So what is that? Because I find it humorous and it's awesome.
So we have a little competition. They're big time servers at their parish, but I am the top server. I've served more than any of them with the bishop. I've served at the Basilica in DC, and a few of them have done the same things, but they're not on the same level. So they're trying to catch up, but it's.
No, I love it because I think it's great that you made these friends and now they have a healthy competition of who can serve the most. So that's such a wonderful thing. Is there anything that you guys have left that you want to speak about today before you leave us?
Not really. If anybody gets the chance to go, I would take it. Especially because if you only have one chance, you're never gonna know. So you might as well try it.
Okay, awesome. Anything for you, Alyssa?
Don't think so.
Okay. Well, thank you so very much, Mr. Binder. We appreciate you coming in here, bringing them and taking of your time. We know that, it's probably a blessing to be able to get out of school for a little bit. So it's probably not like, oh, you missed something unless you got an assignment to do.
I'm missing senior skip day right now.
Are you seriously? What are you guys doing for senior skip day?
We were at Arcade 11. So.
Oh man, God bless you, sir. All right, well, get back to Arcade 11. All right. So thank you very much for giving of your time, you guys. Appreciate you coming in here. Pray for us. We'll be praying for you.
Sounds good.
Have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
All right. We just got done speaking with the Thomas More Prep Marian senior high students, Caleb Marinser and Alyssa Church. We were talking about prayer and action. I did want to mention here just very quickly, see if we can get a